It Happened on the Job, the podcast for relatable conversations with contractors. Sponsored by Goodman Insurance.
Welcome to It Happened on the Job. We are your podcast for relevant and relatable conversations with contractors. Hopefully a little bit of entertainment for you as well. My name is Mike. That's Brian.
Yo, yo.
Today with us we have Juan Baños, the CEO of the BR Company.
That's right.
Did I get all that?
That's it. You're right.
Okay.
You know, you got confused by the name Juan Baños. Let me go ahead and start off with your viewers and give you the
clear that up a little bit.
Exact translation. Yep. So Baños, if anybody speaks Spanish,
right?
is bathrooms, actually restrooms, preferably, and then Juan translates to John,
which is
so going to the growing up, believe it or not, first generation.
Poor guy, man.
You know, bathroom was my name. Not to a lot of people, because a lot of, I still think it sounds kind of cool. But my funny story, my wife, who I ended up marrying.
You ended up marrying your wife?
Yes, I did end up marrying. well,
convenient.
We went to school together our whole life in Glendora, well, since middle school. And she was one of those little girls that would call me bathroom. And then,
you knew.
Hey, guess what? She took the name. So, joke's on her.
Right there.
Joke's on her. But no, hey, guys, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
No, thanks for taking the time, man. We appreciate you coming all the way out
on
here.
The show. It's kind of cool to follow you guys. And this is podcast number 30.
52.
No,
I didn't even get to that. Yeah, we are episode number 52.
Holy smokes, guys.
Yeah.
You guys are serious.
We got some on the shelves that are coming out.
Yeah, we got a few in the backlog at the editor. Yeah.
Damn, I wish I would have got a cooler number. 52 is all right. I'll tell you what, if this hits, I will get 52 tatted somewhere on my body.
Oh,
Dude,
geez.
all right. Define hits.
Yeah.
I
He doesn't want to.
I think I need to defer to my attorney.
Yeah,
on that
you're going to want to get a real high number.
No matter what, he's going to get me out of that contract. So, but hey, you know what? Little promise there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, cool.
So, give us a little history how you got started in the industry and the road to where you are now. What you guys do at the BR Company?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, actually, the story, my construction story, begins summer 2004. Right, I'm a freshman in high school, Glendora High School. And I've got my whole summer planned out.
You're a freshman in 04?
I was a freshman in 04.
Man, you are
I'm
young.
a baby, bro.
Good for you, man.
So I've got my whole summer planned out. I got my friends I'm going to hang out with, and I'm just ready to live life. And I get a knock at 5 a.m. It's my dad. And he's like, "Get your ass out of bed.
We're going to work.
It's time to go to work." And we did well. I mean, you'll hear in the story, they did well, but he was all about hard work. So he gets my ass up and puts me in the truck. Those were the days that you could be on your phone and it wasn't, Bluetooth. So he's on his phone. He's driving a stick shift. He's got a cigarette in his mouth. And I'm like, where am I going? I'm tired. And he drops my ass off in a job here in Yorba Linda, California. And he says, "Hey, you're working here today." And, I show up and one of the other employees was there and he's, "Hey, we're demoing today." So
hopefully you're not in shorts and flip flops.
No, I was ready to go, but basically it started there, right? Summers were taken away and get in there and do your thing. So, but then peel back. I'm a son of immigrant parents. My dad was from Spain, Murcia, and my mom's from Jalisco, Mexico. So so son of immigrant parents. My dad started in Spain. He actually had a pretty large development and construction company in southern Spain. And in the late 70s, early 80s, he left Spain. I don't know the exact story. He's dead now. I can't ask him, but he ran away, I think. And no, I'm sure there's some credibility to it. But anyways, no. All jokes aside, he went to Mexico. I think he was going to start over there. Met my mom, who was an airline stewardess at the time, 10 years younger than him. Player.
Good for him.
And they ended up leaving and coming to California for the American dream, for the opportunity, right? So he definitely struggled. He went from building hotels and cool buildings in southern Spain to he was working at my grandpa's taco shop, cutting meat for tacos in the back of the kitchen. So, really humbling moment, I'm sure, for him. So put his head down, got to work again, started building relationships, was fascinated by the world of building, because in Spain, they do everything with like concrete and cement and block, And here he used to refer to it as toothpick construction, right? The framing, the wood frame. It's like, what's going on? And California and earthquakes and whatnot, right? So he gets in the business and slowly started building relationships. He got a really pivotal relationship with a guy in City of Industry that was food manufacturing, right? So he got into food manufacturing business and just started kind of growing from there. Got to 30 employees. I mean, we lived a good life. He had a decent sized business. Fast forward 2009, we lost him and just lost everything, right? So business tanks, and he was trying to control it. What he had in Spain was pretty large, but what he had here was a little bit smaller, but he was the guy, right? He was literally the secret piece to the business. He was the relationship, the business did not operate without him. And now part of our mission is to help that, and I'll get to that in a bit. But so anyways, we lose him, and at the time, I'm actually interning at a law office, and I was going to school at the same time because I wanted nothing to do with this business. I'm like, you know what, first off, you made my ass get to the trenches when I was 15, and I'm not doing it again, right? So I'm like deviating away from nothing sexy about it. It's not business, it's construction, right? So I'm with my attorney, and he sees that at the time my dad was sick. He calls me in, and he's like, hey man, I'm going to make a recommendation. I think you should probably go help your family. You know, you've got a little bit of a business brain, so go over there. And I fought it. I'm like, dude, no, great, no. And he's like, well, you're going to be a shitty attorney. And I'm like, my mentor, my chance. I was like, all right. He goes, but I think you're going to be a decent business guy. And I'm like, there's no business over there. And he's like, well, then, trust me, you're gonna need attorneys. And boy, was he right. But so I dive into the business, and it's just survival mode. I mean, we're broke. We had $700 in the bank account. You know, I saw my dad build everything and lose everything. So something about that, fueled me. And then I think quickly I started realizing that there's transactions in this space, right? There's business, there's deals, you're interacting. It's not just unsexy construction. And I was always more tailored toward the business side of it. And then I grew a fascination to the world of building and building things. What other industry can you actually build something tangible and be recognized for and say, wow, that's pretty cool.
Be able to drive by and see the product of your work all the time.
Right. So I put my head down, and then I quickly just realized, I was like, you were such an unappreciative little
piece of
right. And you should have known. And if I could go back now, I would have tell him, geez, I just didn't realize it, right? And so I think that fueled me now to start going hard, and that's what we started doing, right? So when you're in survival mode, nothing's stopping you, and you're 20 years old. I was 20 years old at the time, right? And I don't know shit about construction. I know that I can demo things, and I know, but my family's in it. I've got 2 other brothers and a sister. My sister's going to school at Woodbury for architecture, and we had no idea she was going to join the business, which she did. But my brothers are in it, and we just put our heads down and started working, building relationships. First week, we lose our biggest client, and we're like, okay, that's not great. First week, we got a lawsuit. Your dad did this, and a handshake did it. And you're just like, you're starting to deal with all these real life problems that you're like, man, this sucks. So we bankrupt, and we just start over. So although he died, and the business died, we said we can't let his legacy die. BR is actually, although we call it Building Resources today, represents Baños Ramon, my dad's name. So we know that as a family, and that's all that matters, because nobody else could really give a shit.
Until our millions of listeners now, you're going to hear that.
Right, yeah, that's right, baby, because we're going viral. And I said, you know what, that fueled me to say, let's go. So one foot after another, we start getting into different verticals. I got us into healthcare back in about 2011, and it just boom, started skyrocketing our business. We get into Oshpod work. We get into stuff that's way over technical for me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, now we're hiring just like at the snap of a finger. We just survived, no structure, right? And this was up until probably 2 or 3 years ago, where we were like, okay,
flying by the seat of your pants,
absolutely. We're making money, but we're spending money. We don't know where everything is. We're not job costing anything. We don't know, right? So we finally got to that point now where we said, okay, we've got something here, and I still today have no interest in being a contractor. So I'm going to be a little different than probably some of you other guys. And I am not a contractor. Construction is a service line for us to transact and create revenue, to create this community. Because for us, we've now identified who we are, and we lead with our why, which is the people. So we exist to champion people's values and purpose in order for them to build a life of significance, right? And you ask, you're like, dude, you're crazy. What does that have to do with construction? Nothing.
Nothing at all. It's just the medium we use. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But I get to use the world of building as my platform to do that. And the world of building is the oldest, largest, least digitized space.
That's true.
Right? It employs 7% of the workforce. It's almost 1 billion people. And it's 10% of our global GDP, 13 trillion. So I look at that and I go, that's a space I can get behind as a business guy. And look, I like construction. I know it. I can read a set of plans. I can get you something built. I can't do it as good as some of the people I've hired, but that wasn't my role. That wasn't my role.
Yeah.
So now we've started to build off that, and now we're starting to build a little bit more of the enterprise type of business. So now what we've done is we've redefined, because we get really cute in this construction industry. We start saying, okay, we've got this lighting division, this flooring division, and we started building out. And then I said, we've got to create a better platform for this. So we've now rebranded to be all things building, and we lead with what I call the 5 pillars of construction. It used to be 4, but now technology. So it's design, construction, facilities, energy, and tech, right? And under that umbrella, you can pretty much do all things building. And that's our model, because our next growth, which I'll get to, is going to be through M&A, mergers and acquisitions. For it's basically blue collar meets business through BR with this platform, and that's kind of where we're headed. So we're right in the middle of it, and I'm excited to.
So
to
on
roll
that,
out.
well, and I'll backtrack eventually, but I want to ask you about that. Is the plan there to bring on smaller contractors that maybe don't have the sophistication and kind of absorb them and teach them your ways and
100%. So when people hear me say, what do you do in M&As in like construction world? Like, this is blue, like, you're not Wall Street. We're not Wall Street guys,
Right.
But we so happen to focus so well on the business side of our business. You have to draw a fine line and say there's trade and then there's business, right? So by design, and you guys have probably met a lot of them, by design, you are a very good carpenter, but you are probably a shitty business person.
Yeah, no, 100%.
But so by design, good tradesman. By default, businessman.
Okay, businessman.
Right?
Yeah,
By default, you become a business guy, and all of a sudden you got this guy in this industry that there's so much heart and passion for. You've got these guys that are blue collar that are doing everything. They're on fire, right? I'm talking to them all day long. Now that's part of my social responsibility. Yes, it's growth for the business, but that's part of the social responsibility. They're the invoice guy. They're the set up the guys guy. They're the leave at 4 a.m. in the morning, get home at night at 9 and forget to send invoices. So they become all these things. Why? So maybe make a little bit more money. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but it's all at risk, right? So I saw a huge need for this, and I said, look, if you could focus on what you do best, your trade and your relationships, we can do the whole back end. So we've invested heavily on that back end. We're on Procore. Procore's like at the heartbeat of we're going to be featured by them here soon, but it's at the heartbeat of our operations, and we work on our workflow, on our process, on our systems. We geek out over it. I mean, the technology, the Matterport. I mean, we geek out, but we said we have to, because if we need to build that infrastructure and good relationships with our banking partners, now to say, okay, now we can go to the blue collar world and these guys that are on fire, and let's see if we can work deals out. Let's make them businessmen. Let's buy their companies, or let's merge them in.
I was going to say, is it more just 100% absorption of their company, or is it, hey, give us a certain percentage of equity and we'll give you access to this platform that we have.
So typically we're pretty open to how the deals get worked out, but usually what happens in this, again, we approach the M&A, the merger and acquisition, as if any real business was going to do it. We have a due diligence. And the problem with, and you guys probably see it in your industry, is your financials, when you're running your own little business, you're not building your business to sell, right? I mean, you're hiding money from Uncle Sam. Yeah. You're doing whatever it takes to survive. And if you've got a decent accountant, he's still kind of jacking you up, right? So I never look at buying a company now based off the financials, right? Because in our industry, if your financials are good, you think you're worth way more than you really are, right? Like if you're netting $100,000 after you pay yourself, I'm worth $4 million. It's like, where'd you get that multiplier from? So we focus on the people, the opportunities, and the alignment with the culture, because this is a tough industry. I mean, you guys talk to people all day long that are just assholes, right? I mean, because you can be. It's rough, and it's
you almost have to be to get by, right? I mean, with the way that a lot of these deals and getting paid and all those other things kind of go down. I mean, you have to be that hard ass.
Well, yeah, because I think what the challenging part of all this stress that it creates for maybe your own business or working in this industry, there's so many different pressures. I call this the behind the scenes infrastructure badasses.
Yeah.
That billion people we talked about doesn't get credit for what we do, right? We're expected to do a job, manage the job, stress about it, maybe not be able to pay bills, and then you don't even get credit for it. Somebody else comes into that building and starts operating their business.
Yeah.
And they get the credit. You're just asked to do it again, right? So you go, man, I'm going to expose that. I want to expose the badasses of the world of building. That's the behind the scenes infrastructure. And we don't need credit like the frontline nurses or people actually use those buildings for really good. But you know what? I hope when you walk down a hallway or you're going to go take a piss in your urinal, you know somebody with their own hands hung it up there, and they should be acknowledged.
Yeah.
You know, don't forget. You know, so I do that constantly because the world of building is so powerful. I mean, look, you wake up in the morning, and your feet touch a floor. You go and you take a piss in a toilet. You get in your car, you drive off the concrete. You come into your office, you turn on your lights, and because of it, we're able to sit right here, right now, and talk about it and have a podcast.
Yep.
Right.
So subconsciously, it's there. You're just not looking at it, right? And maybe those that are involved in it look at it a little bit more.
Right, yeah.
But even the people that are in it aren't really looking at it. So my whole goal with the whole championing people, how do you find, okay, so you're crazy. You're trying to find people's values and purpose and help them build a life of significance, and they're pounding nails in a 2x4. How do you do that? I go, okay, so that's challenging, right? Okay, so what if we did this? What if we said, hey, the history and evolution of building is just unbelievable, right? So much history. In 9000 BC, there's a building somewhere in Turkey that they built. So there's all this history to the Stone Age and to the way hammers have been around for 3 million years, right? So you lead to codes and compliance, and now you get to take this little metal thing that gets manufactured, billions of them, right? And you get to take a hammer that's 3 million years, and you get to put it every 16 inches on center, and in 500 years, probably a robot's going to be doing it. So maybe realize that you're a part of history today through all these codes, and one day this won't even exist.
Yep.
And maybe, just maybe, you'll feel a little bit more valuable. You'll feel a little bit more purpose. That may not mean you're going to make more money,
right.
but if that's your motivator, then stick your neck out there and do, try to move up the ladder.
Yeah.
So that's basically been the gist of it. But we've become super people oriented, and that's why I'm excited to champion this space, right? Because it so desperately needs it.
Yeah. No, and I thank you for coming on to do that. I think, not to sound too big-headed, but I think what we're doing is probably helping that.
100%.
And I'm glad we're able to do that. I'm glad to be a part of it. But going back a little bit to kind of how you guys got started, you said you went from bankrupt and you started over, and then you got all these pretty big, what did you say, hospital and some other jobs.
Mm-hmm.
How did that, where did that even come from? How does that relationship even happen, or how did you guys transition into that?
Yeah, so I think
can't imagine it was just dumb luck, right?
No, those kind of things they don't teach you in business school, right? But it's definitely the risk taking, right? Now it's more. We started with the brand, so we were able to keep my dad's legacy alive.
Right.
So there were some key relationships that were still there.
Yeah.
So some people will just give you a shot, and I'm so grateful for those people. But then they still expect to get what their expectations are. Right. So we didn't screw up too much. We've definitely lost a lot of games, but we've won more games than we've lost, and that's how you win championships, right? Yeah. I remember the first job we got, our first capital job was a $100,000 concrete job in City of Industry, and we were like, yes, we freaking did it. And then we got to the office and we're like, how are we going to afford to do this job? We got like $2,000 in the bank, and then we don't even have a line of credit with that guy. And then you know what? I won't get into the weeds, but we figured it out, and it's like, damn. And then one after another. But it definitely requires you to stick your neck out there and just overperform. Nothing beats outworking. You just got to grind. Yeah. So, and that's what we did. Yeah. But the hospital stuff, I had a mentor in Upland. We were actually helping him on his house. Dr. Lally, he's fantastic. I remember telling him once, I was fascinated by his entrepreneurship in hospitals, and I said, hey, so how do you make all this money? And he's like, hey, if you need more money, just go make more. So confident. I'm like, what do you mean? It doesn't just grow. I can't just go grab coffee beans and make.
What's funny is my wife's the one, and I don't mean to interrupt you. We'll get back, but my wife's the one where we look at something and we want to buy it. She always I have to justify things I buy, right? And I'm not that I have to justify them. I buy things all the time, and she's like, oh my gosh, and she'll want to buy something. Just buy it. You need more money, I'll go make more money.
Yeah.
I literally, so it's just funny that you say that because.
Well, when you dumb it down to that, it doesn't become as impossible, right?
Yeah.
Because I think society creates that for us where we're sandbagging ourselves. It's like we're chasing pipe dreams and we're told not to. Aren't we supposed to be?
Right.
I hired a VP of health. Oh, I don't know if I'm legally allowed to say that, but I had a guy running our healthcare projects, and we were looking to build the Chalk Children's Autism Center here in Orange County. And I remember he's in my office and he's like, "You are effing crazy. You're just chasing a pipe dream." And I'm like, "You're effing crazy for not wanting to chase pipe dreams. Like, isn't this what we're supposed to do?" Anyways, we got the job, and it was very cool. Yeah, I'm not allowed to talk about it. You said that, I didn't. Yeah. So and that was so important because the cultural alignment now in the business we're so selective as to you have to be able to be part of that culture because culture kills. It's a cancer, right? If you have something that's damaging your culture, you shouldn't even think twice. I mean, I listen to guys like Gary Vee and all those guys, and they say it, but it really is true.
Yeah.
You know, if there's some toxicity in the space, you got to get rid of it. Even if it's like your most valuable person, it'll ruin it. You know, so yeah. So we've learned a lot, along the way, and stuck our necks out there, and now we've built out a pretty. We're still small.
Well,
we're close to. Well, I think we're bigger compared to all these big guys. We're close to 150 employees now.
That's huge.
That's
nothing to shake a stick at.
But I feel like we're just getting started.
Well, that's the important part, right? You may feel small because you have all these other visions of how much bigger you can be, but I mean, that's not a small business at all. I mean, I guess by terms of American economy, it's a small business still, but in this space, it's a pretty big successful company.
10 years, really, essentially, to be able to get from there to here.
Yeah,
that's.
And I think the funny part, more ironic, I guess, is so we've this is episode 52, right? We've had 51 other guests on, and for the most part, other than one or two, I mean, they've all been pretty big, successful companies. And it's not that those are the ones we're targeting, right? It's just more that I think when we ask these questions, the ones that do have the time to do it, because you go back to, if you're running a 30 employee company and you're the one doing it all, you don't have time to sit down and talk to me.
I know, you're
or want to sit
right.
down and talk to me. So it's just funny that the people that do come on, there's a couple themes. One of them is all those systems and that back office and that structure that needs to take place to be able to grow. And the other one is the culture, right? The employee culture. So, I mean, those are the first two things that you've obviously talked about, but it's like I said, it's ironic that the people that have come on here that have the time and the success that want to talk about it have all kind of put those things in place.
Yeah, and that's hard. It's really hard to get to that point. I'm telling you, we've been
especially
able to
the delegation part, right? I mean, you own something and you feel so
can't
much
be
control
afraid
over
to
it.
fail. You're just gonna fail.
Right.
Like I said, to win championships, you don't go 300-0, right? You lose a lot of games along the way.
Right.
So you almost have to just embrace fail. I don't wake up saying like, I can't wait to fail, but like I'm looking forward to my next failure, right? Yeah. Because you usually learn and then you can move on and just, you get stronger and that could be anything. You failed on a job, you failed on the wrong employee you hired,
right.
Whatever that was, right? So yeah, it's been a pretty cool lesson.
So speak to the hiring process a little bit. Obviously culture is huge. What are you guys looking for, especially maybe more on the field and labor side? What is it you guys are looking for there in that process you guys go through to bring somebody on?
Well, on the field and labor side, you guys, there's no secret to this, right? In 30 years, we're screwed on the labor side, right? All the young kids are getting into technology and
knock on wood. Hopefully, what we're doing here is helping, right?
I hope so. Yeah. I think this right here, what you guys are doing, and then I'm gonna stick my neck out and try to digitize this space and make it cool, right? Because people want it to be cool. I mean, that's not what That's why I wanted to stay away from it.
Right.
It wasn't cool to me.
Right.
And I'm telling you, what we're doing is super cool. So when you make it like that, but yeah, we look for cultural alignment, number one, right? So
regardless of experience,
it's guys that walk in the office that have, I've got 30 years of construction estimating experience, and he's just a total
dick.
Exactly. Thank you. And you just don't. Hey, look, that works, just not with us. Just because we don't want you here doesn't mean you're not going to go be successful somewhere else.
Right.
So, and we even say that to the companies that we don't merge in. We say, hey, look, or that decide not to merge in. We say just because you don't want to champion BR's brand doesn't mean we don't want to see you champion yours. We hope that you learn a lot enough along the process of our maybe due diligence that you are able to make your company better. And it's a $10 trillion space.
Plenty of room for everybody to be successful.
Jeff Bezos can't make a dent in this space.
Right.
You know, well, maybe he can, but most of the companies can. There's enough market share for everybody to go around, right? So, but I do think it's important to digitize this. You know, to get us from yellow pad to some sort of system. I mean, I still talk to guys all day they're on yellow pad, and that's how. Like, how do you track that job? It's like, oh, it's right here. It's right here
on the dash of my truck.
I'm like, man, and these are decent sized companies. You know, they're doing maybe a couple million a year in revenue, and you're like, oh, wow, okay. So anyways, that's what's important to me, and I'm excited to really champion this space, like you guys are.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so it's
what
cool.
So what does that process look like when you're looking at doing that due diligence process with somebody new?
So it's kind of overwhelming to maybe a smaller party because they've never been through this, right?
Right.
Like,
right.
I've never thought about selling my business. So we kind of empower.
An insurance audit is about as deep as it gets normally.
Yeah, and you usually try to stay away from those, right? But so it's empowering in a sense, right? You're about to actually jump into a business deal with you're going to talk business in this space, and we're going to go through it. So we've created. You know, I've got attorneys now that help us, but we have a whole template on the due diligence, right? Always starts with an NDA so everybody can be protected. And then we dive into what do you have? You know, and we hit you with everything as if, you know, you're a real built out company. You know, please upload your org chart. Please give us if you've got any sales metrics. What's your pipeline look like? And you know what? And you know what I love is I tell them all the time, it's like, look, don't let this be a measuring factor.
Right,
if you don't have it, you don't have it. I actually expect that you don't. Those that do,
that's
great.
why we're talking,
that's
right?
Awesome.
I mean, yeah.
And because of this, if it doesn't work out, you now know that you might need to factor in some of these things when you go back to do your business. So maybe, just maybe, we helped you, you know, put a couple, you know, tie a couple loose strings in your business out, and it'll help you. So again, it's just more of like if it works out, we can build off it. We bring it into our brand. We grow the business. That's great. It creates revenue, transaction. That stuff's going to come. It's important. It's going to come. But if it doesn't, you're still doing something good, right? You're still making them aware of, okay, I need to tweak this, and that, and maybe I can get home a little bit sooner and my wife not be pissed off at me all day, you know? So that's the goal here. And you can't measure that. You can't really quantify it.
No, how many acquisitions or mergers have you guys done so far?
So we're on we just finished number 6.
Wow.
And we started, you know, like 3 or 4 years ago. I just saw a need for it. I said, I love to hit the fast forward button, right? That's always been my play. And I'll get back to that in a second because I'll lose my train of thought as to the fast forward story. When we got into healthcare, my biggest client who's like feeding me like flooring and base work, right? And I'm the one like doing it and grabbing the materials and screwing it all up. And I go like, hey, how do I make it here in healthcare? And he goes, I recommend you go and you work for, and he mentioned a company is in Orange County, and you know, maybe work there 5 to 10 years and learn all the healthcare stuff and bring it back, right? Yeah. And then you can, you know, your family could start getting some of my work. I said, what if I just go over there and hire their best guy? And he was like, look, I don't want to do that. Yeah. That seems like it takes too long, right? So anyways, that was kind of part of the fast forward button. And then getting back to what you mentioned in regards to, what was the question right before that? You had said, I told you I was going to deviate. I told you I was going to deviate and hit the fast forward button.
I tend to have a mind like a goldfish sometimes.
Yeah.
You were just talking about how many mergers you guys had done.
Yeah. So the growth, right?
The growth,
That's why we did the mergers.
Yeah.
So I said, hey, how do I drive this business from X to X, and how do I do that quickly? I mean, we have organic growth where construction companies, the revenue model is you do a project, you bid a project, you get it done, you hope you don't lose your ass on it, and you do it again.
Right.
And then you build relationships and you organically grow. And we're doing that, and we do that pretty well. But then I was like, how do you hit the fast forward button on this? And then I saw that need. I said, wait, we need to kind of rechange our business model here. We need to make this serious. Plus, there's a need for it. And if we can take $1 million in revenue businesses and 10x them, and we can do that 10 times, then we're in good shape.
Right.
You know, and now we're really speeding up the growth. So that was kind of the whole idea behind it. So what we've done is, and we've brought in some guys that have, and it's working. We haven't 10x'd any of them, but we've 3-4x'd some of them already. And we're going, okay, and that was just getting started.
Yeah.
So, and again, yes, of course, the goal is growth and revenue, but you cannot measure the happiness you'll see when somebody's like, wow, I could take a vacation now. I mean, you need to have the business built out, right? In order for you to actually streamline. If not, you're doing everything and you're on fire. So
are you guys actually managing anything in their business, or are you literally just giving them back office and systems and structure support?
So it's everything. You get all the infrastructure, right? But then you also get the BD, you get the culture, you get all the strategy sessions. I mean, so again, because we look at the people first, we're also have to make.
But you're not in there like
decision.
doing bidding and scheduling and all that kind of stuff for them, are you?
If that's what they're good at, they're going to stay.
Yeah, okay.
If they're not good at that and they're like, I have all these opportunities, but I keep losing money, like, well.
So it's
we're
really
going to have
just
our
100%
estimator look at it
to the people you're looking at, and there's no
completely
cookie
nimble
cutter or anything.
Yep, because everybody needs something different, right?
Yeah.
Some guy walks in and is like, I've got all these relationships in the world, I just can't handle. Or some guy's like, I'm extremely technical at this, and if we did this, we could do it. I just don't know how to get there. So you just listen, right? And then you can create something pretty.
Are you guys going out hunting, or are people looking for you, or?
So we were going to go on a major let's go look, and then just organically through our network, it just starts happening, and then all of a sudden you go, well, what's my market share here? It's like, okay, well, within a 100-mile radius, if we started there, you could find thousands of companies, right? So you do have to be selective. We have to be careful. So we're developing that right now. So, but anybody under that all things building model fits. Yeah. So we bought a janitorial company 2 weeks before the COVID hit, and their specialty was disinfecting. And we were just like, that was my dad, just helping. Like, there's no way that was meant to be. And before you know it, it's like, are you kidding me? That's pretty cool. But then why I say that is, it all fits under the model. And there's just certain pressure points these businesses have that don't allow them to drive to that.
Well, I feel like it would almost fit in any business situation, right? Obviously, small tweaks between, building a house and running a restaurant, but I mean, the business model is a business model, right? I mean,
absolutely.
There's structures and systems that need to be in place that probably, is from cost and all that kind of stuff. But so I'm curious, how'd the first one go? The first one without any history?
So it was way more informal. It was a flooring company, right? And we had developed a relationship, and it was about, I think it was almost 5 years ago now. And it was just like, hey, we should partner up and see you're
so you
just
didn't have this plan in place already that you were trying to sell.
It's not part of our growth plan. It was just let's partner up. You do flooring for AT&T. What if they gave you some more stuff? And you're only doing flooring for all these wonderful clients. What if you just started adding more services? And it happened, right? It was like, oh, hey, this school that we do the flooring for is now asking us to do all their doors or all their paint or their TIs. So the sales model there became, whoa, okay, you can go to single trade companies that you're still talking to the same person typically, right? The guy that you're selling flooring to is the same guy that's talking about tenant improvements, lighting, energy projects. I mean, there's usually some sort of facility or plant operations manager, right? In our space, unless you're doing residential, it's homeowner, which that's a nightmare, but that's a whole nother, it happened on the job episode. But yeah, that's typically it, yeah.
So when you were working for your dad way back in the day and he was getting you up at 5 a.m, were you seeing things and holes? Because obviously you've made a radical change, right, in terms of the business model. Were you making mental notes as you were going, in terms of what you would do and then implementing those later? Or were these kind of more like what you talked about, oh, here's a great idea and, we'll make the change there? Where did
the philosophy change?
Well, I don't think that his particular why was this, right? I think he was more of, let's build a business that's can sustain the family and give my family a good life, right? What most look for. But it all changed that first day when I was on the job, right? So this is what happened on the job. Yeah. I was dropped off. I'm 15 years old. I'm a little arrogant prick. And I show up and this guy starts telling me, hey, I need you to go demo this. And he's pissing me off. And I'm like, what's this guy telling me what to do? And he finally tells me for the third time what to do. And I go up to him and I say, hey, you can't tell me what to do. My dad owns the company. And he was like, oh, okay. So I just kind of did my thing. So my dad shows up to pick me up because I didn't have a car. And he's like, hey, Mr. Baños, I need to talk to you. And I'm like, uh-oh. All right. So I'm looking from the corner of my eye, and these guys are talking, and my dad's standing there with his arms crossed, and he's smoking a cigarette, and he's talking to him. He just looks over at me and not saying it. I'm like, oh shit. And I'm like, all right, I can't get out of here now. I didn't drive. Now I'm in Yorba Linda. We have to drive to Glendora. This is 30 minutes of. So we get in the car, and sure enough, turns on the car. He chaps another cigarette, not saying anything. The windows are up, and I'm like, oh man. And he pulls the car over. And he just, I won't even go on the record and say what he said, but he blasted my ass. Basically, you are a nobody. That's not how it works. You earn what you're supposed to be.
Yeah,
You, if anything, I work for him, is what he said. I work for him. I'm supposed to be creating a job for him to go do his job. So you're a nobody. And that just resonated with me so well.
Yeah.
So to today, I still treat everybody within the organization as if I'm working for them. I'm supposed to be doing something for them. I sit in a chair that allows me to do more for them if I could, if I really maximize. So that was pretty life-changing, right? So and then the next day I'm there, and the guy's like, hey, get your ass over there and demo. I'm like, yes, sir. Yes, sir. No problem. So that's what happened on the job for me.
To that point of being a champion for your people and you working for them, how did you guys manage through these last few months in this social experiment that we're in? And I mean, from a workflow standpoint and a morale standpoint, how did all those things?
That's tough, man, because when you sit in my chair, you have to be confident. You have to tell everybody. You have to communicate, right?
Yeah.
So you can be reactive or you can be proactive, right? Reactive is, hey, let's look at our operations costs. Let's furlough everybody. Let's just be safe. And that was not an option. I was like, what are we going to do to grow right now? People are like, dude, you're crazy. I was like, I know, I'm not supposed to not be crazy. So I was like, so we got the janitorial thing going. What else can we do? Can we look at more janitorial companies? Can we shift all our lighting guys that were supposed to be doing the Macy's here to clean? And they started cleaning. So we got everybody busy.
Creating work, yeah.
So I guess my whole goal was create the business diverse enough in enough verticals that people could stay busy. Because we stress about another thing that the behind-the-scenes infrastructure workers don't get credit for. It's seasonal, right? So you may have a job for 3 months, and then you're like, but then what happens after this job? Yeah. How do I feed my family?
Yeah.
And I can't stand that crap. It just bugs me. It's like, you shouldn't have to feel that, especially the fact that you're using your hands and you're busting your ass for this company.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of business owners almost use that as an excuse, like, well, this is just the construction industry. That's the way it works. And you kind of want to kick him in the ass. Like, no, you've hired this guy. Like,
it is your job to
your
keep them busy.
to keep them busy. Yeah.
They're gonna bust their ass to do what they do. It is your job to keep them busy. That's an easy. That should be, if you're in my chair, that should be an easier job.
Well,
right? So figure it out.
And your dad modeled that for you in that conversation on the side of the road, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
If anything, I work for him. He doesn't work for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that changes everything because it's very easy, and you guys see it. You get egos in the business, right? And we've even had it. We've had to clean it up because we have to like flip our accountability in our org chart where it's like, look, I do not sit at the top of the totem pole. There is no pressure up here. I'm at the bottom. All the weight's on my shoulders. And I love that, right? Some people are built for that.
Yep.
So why don't we, instead of when we're rolling out new processes or we're talking about, instead of driving the message down and making sure that we shove it down their throats, is let's drive a positive message up. Because they're sitting at the top. There's no weight on their shoulders, technically, right? Yes, they have to feed their families, but they don't have all of these liabilities. But they're the ones producing the outcome, right? And there's way more of them than there is of me. So if I can champion our people up and provide that outcome and make them feel significant, I mean, that would be awesome, right? So that's the goal.
So what does your management team structure look like where you guys are at?
Well, I mean, if you saw our org chart, we at this point we revisit our org chart every month because we're just so nimble. We have a very general direction of where we're headed with the real estate. We're building out. With the enterprise, we're building out a real estate company. We've got a foundation going. We just started media and entertainment just because we want to digitize this space.
Right.
We right now we have, and Daniel's a part of it, who's here. We have children learning through the world of building. So I said, look,
I saw that.
Why don't we create videos and get children learning through the world of building so that maybe they think it's cool, right? And why don't and then it just so happened to be the stars align. This young gal, a family friend of ours, his daughter, master's in education specific to children. she comes on board to help us write the first script. So now she's attaching like a curriculum to it. So I'm like, look, this is what you're supposed to do. You're actually supposed to push good messaging out and start with the children. And that just gives us more credibility, right? Because we're doing something else for this space. And it's like, why do you do that? Well, okay, so if we can monetize from that, we will. We're business people.
Right.
We'll find a way to get, freaking Black & Decker to sponsor us or something. But I can't measure if one of my employees is home on a weekend on a Sunday and they're sitting on their couch with their 5-year-old and they say, oh, you know what? Why don't you watch mommy or daddy's work video? And the child is just so excited about it.
Right.
You know how much harder they're going to go the next week? Just passion and just you can't measure that. Yeah. What if it creates some good? So again, I have no interest in being a contractor.
I can almost tell. My next question was going to be, what don't you do?
Yeah, no, I mean, look, what I do is the people championing.
Yeah.
That's it. I remove the titles. I know you need them. I know our bank needs them. Our lawyers need them. But I think if you have to be a human first, right? I think everybody, it becomes CEO to project manager. It's like, you know what? No, I want to be Juan and I need you to be Jeff. Let's talk within respectable boundaries, but you forget about that and you hide behind your titles. And that becomes a problem. So and again, this is a 31-year-old guy trying to champion a very old space. So I know,
very old space.
Trust me. And people ask me, they're like, if your dad was here, he'd be so proud of what you're like. We wouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
He'd be doing it the old way.
Yeah.
And I just get the opportunity.
Or
to
he'd be
do
retired and you'd still be doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But I'd be doing it his way.
Yeah.
Right. So it has gave me the ability to, I don't want to say run amok a little bit, but
disrupt the space a little bit.
Disrupt it a little bit. Yeah. I call it aggressively responsible. Yeah. Right. So, or responsibly aggressive.
So in your head, are you the only guy doing this, or do you think that you are one of few doing this, or do you see the future being everybody being this way, everybody being tech forward and digitized and all those things? You know what I mean? Because you see other businesses do it, right? Because one person will change and almost everybody else does. But I think construction and the world of contractors is very lethargic in that way, where somebody like you can do this, and not to be a downer, but I could almost see you doing this for 10 or 15 years and shit's still not changing. You know what I mean? There's still going to be stick framers out there that write their estimates on a yellow pad and go back to, you know what I mean? So how do you see it going forward, ideally?
Ideally, I'd say, hey, everybody just innovate, innovate or die is what's going to happen. So I think what will happen in the industry is a lot of people will be forced to use technology. You're going to do that anyways, right? And those that are still not innovating will probably slowly die off. If you know of any, just let them know. We'll merge them in. But then there's going to be a new level of youth that's going to step their game up. Like right now, I think
generational almost.
I think we're stepping our game up. Right. I think we're doing something completely diverse in this space and leading with technology. And I think that's what's starting to make it cool again. But there's people right now that are in middle school that are going to come and just smoke me by the time they're my age, and I hope that happens. That's supposed to happen. Right. You just hope that these companies continue to innovate. But in this space that's so old, it's so desperately needed, because there's stigma. There's, you think when I used to go to these jobs, I'd always wear a nice button-up shirt and my slacks. And they're like, what are you doing? They're like, well, I want to be professional. It's like, dude, go buy a truck, put some jeans on, chew some tobacco. That's not what I want to do. That's okay if that's what you want to do. But I just think it needs to be championed a little bit different. I mean, there's obviously, you respect what the trade has become and what generations have done before us to get us here. Yeah. But it's our turn to say, okay, what are we going to do for it from here moving forward? Right. And you guys are a perfect example of that. The fact that you want to digitize this, maybe at the beginning you're not going to get a whole bunch of followers because it's like nobody wants to listen to the construction. I don't care what that guy did with this, but what if people wanted to listen to forward-thinking tech and innovation and holy crap, this is it, and get kids learning. I mean, so it does open your mind to it, because I plan on being here quite a bit longer, if at all possible. So I need to do something about it and just try to make the impact in the community I can. You're not going to fix it all, right? But yeah, that's the plan.
Well, I think the scary thing too is the minute you start to think that, we've always done it this way, and so we're going to continue in that fashion. I think that's what you see probably, especially in this space, right?
That's the norm.
It's really is. I mean, going to your earlier point, way at the beginning, in terms of 7% of the global employment, I think is what you were mentioning. But if you don't have a forward-thinking mentality in terms of what you're doing in this space, you could probably get by. For a time.
Yeah.
But I think individuals like yourself, I'm thinking of Keith Flores over at
we interviewed a guy a few weeks ago who, almost towards the beginning, who
wears a suit and tie.
Yeah.
He's an HVAC guy.
Attaboy.
Yeah.
I normally wear a suit to work. I was like, I'm going to dumb this down today.
But he literally told us that he said a line that I won't forget for a long time. But he said, I have a lifestyle brand and the fact that I'm an HVAC guy, that's just the medium I use for my lifestyle brand.
That's exactly right. So lead with your why, right?
Yeah.
That's what we've decided to do. You can lead with your what or your how. And that's, what do we do? Construction. How do we do it? Through experience and technology. That's cool. That's how most companies are doing it. But if you lead with your why, and that's the people championing for us, and we just so happen to use the world of building as our platform to do that, everything changes. Yeah. Right? Everything changes. So it's just
topsy-turvy. I love it.
It puts total different perspective into what you want to do, because with that you find your own purpose. Right. So
you get people excited, right? People who are working for you are inspired now. Like you were talking about, they're sitting down with their kids on a Sunday afternoon. They have a purpose and a passion to come in on Monday, right? So
that's exactly right.
I think you in terms of being the people's champion, you're holding that flag and you're moving forward, and people are following,
Yeah.
I think that's huge.
They're crazy enough to follow, so I'm going to try to lead as best as I can.
Which are the people you want, right?
Absolutely.
Those are the people who are going to make that change.
Being a champion of people, you could probably steal something from Keith, and I mean he's made it public, so I'm sure that he doesn't mind. But he actually gives out full on wrestling belts.
Really?
So his top sales or employee of the month or for whatever reason.
I love that.
There's multiple belts, but full on decked out.
That is way cool.
Championship belts. Yeah.
Well, you have to do something like that different. Yeah. I mean, look, we walk around the earth trying to find our own purpose, right? Like we're chasing something, right? And usually people are saying they're chasing money, but what are you doing with money, right? You're trying to buy things that are materialistic because you're trying to get instant gratification. But so what is it you're chasing? I think you're chasing happiness, right? Yeah. So you're chasing purpose.
Ideally.
And, who says that you can't be happy or feel purposeful if you're in the world of building? I mean, for me, I think it's crazy. You go, this is such a great space. Are you kidding me? You can do some unbelievable stuff. Yeah. You can get children learning through the world of building. Yeah. You know, go hammer a nail. Do whatever makes you, and be the best at it.
Well, it's like I said, so, I mean, there's something to be said for, the reasons why Legos and Lincoln Logs, all that stuff are successful, right? Kids build something and they're so proud of it. I've got a 4-year-old and she built something. Is Daddy, look what I built, right? So the same kind of thing, right?
Yep.
If you can maintain that level of passion or that level of excitement until they get to that age of working, it's the same kind of concept, right? I mean, if you're a glazer and you're out there and you've just done some massive 40-story building and you've got your glass all over the side of it, I mean, you could drive by it every day. And
you could be proud of that. Yeah. It is tangible. It's something you can look at. And we do work with a lot of people in the community where we're actually our pediatrician, the stadium in Anaheim. So we'll go to these places and be like, oh, we did that. So it's kind of cool to go see it. But I think you get lost not realizing what you're a part of. You get so kind of tunnel vision. We just finished a really, even at the Chalk Autism Center that we did, a lot of our sub-trades are coming in and they're just I got to get in. It's just a job. It's well, what if you just realize that what this building's going to do for the community? It's going to support autism awareness for children.
Right.
You're a part, you're putting your damn hands on that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Or people are going to come here and work. This office you're going to build. Somebody's going to make things happen. Yeah. That there's going to create jobs. You just don't know. So I think it is very easy to get lost in that tunnel vision a little bit.
So what are some of the coolest things you guys have done from a project standpoint?
Being in healthcare, you do a lot of really interesting things. I think the coolest stuff we do is probably over at Angel Stadium, though, because we've been a part of some of those build-outs inside the stadium and LA Coliseum. So it's just a different world. What you get to see behind the scenes, right? When nobody's it's supposed to be 30,000 people, and then you get access to it.
Yeah.
So it's really not so much the projects or the complexities of the projects. It's being able to have access to places that you normally don't,
right?
And you're allowed that in this space, right? Because you just got to.
You're going to get involved in the whole revamp of that whole area.
Oh man, I'm
Hopefully,
trying.
knock
We're
on
gonna
wood.
figure it out.
Yeah.
I got to get my bond. Can you guys help me with my bonding?
Yeah, you can actually.
All right.
I mean, not here in our office, but we have a guy that does all the bonding for,
All right.
for our
We got
clients.
a guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got a guy. We all got a guy, right? Yeah.
You have to have a guy because you can't be good at everything.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So what's the future look like for you guys? What's the vision?
Well, we have certain, obviously, revenue mile markers that we're chasing. I think it's important to set certain expectations or goals. But I think that the broad message with that is if we can just provide more for this community, right? If we can just create more jobs out of this. I mean, I'm obviously extremely biased to our platform, but I think with this platform, we can create opportunities for thousands of people, employees. We can create deals. We can create that positive energy. We can just continue to champion and let them, again, find their purpose and values, and build a life of significance. And if we could do it with the 150 we got, great. I already feel like we've accomplished something. But if we can 10x that and then 10x that, then we're doing it even better. So yeah, there's a lot of opportunity.
Well, we have about 400 clients in this office, and I would say probably about 250 of them are that $1 million to $5 million range.
There we go.
Kind of
You
right
just-
where you're at.
You just got me a whole book and no.
we got your lead list. you
like
work
I said,
on for
no.
the next 10 years.
Well, this is very important, but it is true though. A lot of that stuff's not going to work out, right? We're going to also lose games when it comes to help because it's just not going to align, and some of it might be cultural alignment or the business deal may not make sense, right? And you have to be able to put your business hat on
make sense, yeah.
and say, dude, you're not worth what you want, and you're not. I mean, you're awesome, but it's not going to work out. But again, I think that through that process, you still learn a lot from your own business because you should be checking your business all the time.
Yeah.
And that's what this blue collar industry so desperately needs and has needed. Get back and check. But you are expected to do everything, right? On top of your billing and you're your own marketing guy and your setup guy is like, I also have to make sure my license is not expiring. I have to make sure I buy insurance. What's this all about?
Yeah.
This is not what I signed up for.
Is there a vision or maybe a path where you guys put together some sort of boxed product to sell to smaller contractors?
Maybe like an educational piece.
Yeah,
So
an education. You'll need this. This comes next. Because we've talked to quite a few guys that are newer in the industry, right, or are new to running their own business, right? Maybe they've been working for somebody for a long time and they want to start on their own. And they just don't know what happens first or where to go first or what. And then, so obviously that kind of stuff you can ask somebody and they'll figure out. But I think there might be some sort of need for some sort of like boxed product. Like these are the steps you take. These are some systems. These are some suggestions and those kind of things.
Yeah, we've talked about creating like a business processes type of application. Obviously, we're so focused on ours that we don't have time for that. And Juan's out here trying to eat the whole world in one bite, and it's like it gets obnoxious.
Just creating more verticals, man. Revenue streams.
Yeah, absolutely. But I do think that's important. I think some of the companies that are spearheading some of the smaller softwares, not the like we're on a larger one, Procore. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's pretty big, and I think some of the ones spearheading the smaller ones that help businesses with more like a turnkey solution, that's going to be very important. There's a huge opportunity there. So if you want to start a SaaS company, do it there and help people because they need it and they can do it all from right here now, right? They can do it from their phone. But no, I would think we're going to probably stay into what we do best. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity there. We at one point said we can actually create our own software, and this was a couple of years ago. We're going to compete with Procore. No way. So what we did is align even harder with Procore. Made them part of our business processes. If you're the best, if you're the authority, align with the best. You don't have to be the best at everything. Just align with them, right? And make them part of your process. And now because of that, we have a great relationship with them. We're doing a piece with them right now where they're going to feature us. So we're super excited about that because credibility is everything in this space, especially when you're young like me, right? They look at me, they're like, you don't know shit. You're just some young guys talking. But my goal with that was, okay, always push the envelope. We can create content and say, look, we lead with technology. We have Procore, we have Matterport and Virtual. Or we can reach out to them and tell them what we're doing and get featured on their platforms. That establishes more credibility. And they approached us. So now we're for me, I think it's just, some of the stars align and you don't ask questions and you just keep moving forward.
Just go for it.
You win a game.
Here we go.
You win a game, you lose one. You win 5, you lose 2, and just keep winning more games than you lose. So, yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Very cool.
before anything else, I feel like there's probably stuff we didn't get to or things that you want to feature or talk about. Is there anything else you guys do?
I don't. I
feel
probably
like
talked way too much about me.
No, not at all. I feel like every 10 minutes something else came up, like, oh, we do this as well. And I'm like, shit, I just want to make sure we get everything out there.
I want, the goal is, and it's weird, is to always lead with your why. It's not about me. BR, our company, is just a platform for everybody to go build their own legacy off of, right? And I sincerely mean that, including my obnoxious self. And I'm just going to say that I'm being biased and think we're creating a cool enough platform for people to come and build their own legacy. BR is not human. So be the human that, because everybody wants to build a legacy, as you should. But, you could do it here with an insurance company, right? Or you could do it selling janitorial supplies. There's always a platform, right? But it's why. It's so that you can be you. And I really want to push that, especially that's, this next generation needs that. We're a little different than the guys like, no, just put your head down and work, and you don't even, you work
don't
for
ask questions,
you work
just
for
do
the
it.
big man. You got 13-year-olds coming and being all sassy now. You're like, you got an ego? You're 13. You should have no freaking ego. But I think that's important. So if the trend's going that way, then try to create the platform that allows us to do that.
Well, very cool. Well, tell the people where to find you, all your social medias and websites and phone numbers. And
Well, we're actually going through a major hard reset right now, which is going to kind of reshare our story digitally. But brco.com is our website. I put myself out there on Instagram now. So Juan J. Baños without the tilde, because Instagram didn't give me the damn.
They don't let you do that, huh?
Yeah, I can't believe it. I'm gonna write somebody a letter.
Juan J. Baños, son.
Juan J. Baños, and then obviously we've built out all the digital platforms for it now. So I won't give you my TikTok, but. Oh, you think I don't have one, huh?
No.
I got
My 12-year-old daughter is trying to get me on TikTok or get me on her TikTok all the time, and it's nope.
I'm telling you,
nope.com.
but look, the way your 12-year-old daughter conducts life today is the way she'll conduct business. I mean, these kids are on their phones just FaceTime each other without even looking at it, right? It's just there.
Yeah.
So if you think about that, you go, okay, hold on. We need to now start creating a system where there's just way more like phone interaction and just like create FaceTime, because that's how they interact.
Yeah.
My son will call his cousins and they're not even talking. They're just, but they're there together.
Yeah.
And you go, okay, hold on. You need to channel that, and we need to be able to start creating those platforms now.
I mean, not to get off on a whole new topic, but it was almost like this pandemic kind of forced that on a lot of people.
100%.
I can't tell you how many Zoom meetings I've had with clients now that, the first time you talk to them, like, what do I click?
Oh, I know, right?
Yeah.
Where's the They're all tech savvy
by
now.
the second or third time, everyone's cool. Yeah, and it works out.
I love that you found the good in it, because COVID and coronavirus is a yucky situation, and there's a lot of bad, but you do have to find the good.
Oh, yeah.
And technology was one of those things that allowed us to continue to do business, business as usual-ish. We obeyed Governor Newsom's orders.
Ish.
I was legally supposed to say that. We were deemed essential, so we're fine.
Yeah.
And then we broke every rule after that. No, but you guys, thanks for having me.
No, thanks for coming, man. We appreciate
that.
it.
Yeah.
It was good times.
Yeah, hopefully we get some more guys like you to champion this space and digitize it. But
yeah, for sure.
Keep doing it.
Oh, it will happen.
You guys are about to explode, and I'm excited to watch your journey too.
I hope so.
man.
Hopefully you're the tipping point, man.
Yeah.
Let's
Hopefully
see.
you make it
All right.
happen. Thanks,
Cool.
sir.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, thanks for listening. If you've made it this far, go ahead and give us a like or 5 stars or whatever means you like us.
Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. And check out our website for more video content and extras.
While you're there, shoot us a message if you want to be a guest. We'd love to have you on.
Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.